I had a chance to listen to your speech this morning, and was particularly interested in hearing a little bit more about some of the things that you're doing for families, for soldiers, where they're living. I think one of the interesting things that you're working on in terms of barrack reforms is, you're putting out a strategy. You're going to be funding it, I think, at about $4 billion more in barracks maintenance beyond what you were already spending. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what more can you do now if you were to get that $4 billion in extra funding that you couldn't do with the funding that you had. What are some of the things that you're going to be doing to help improve military barracks? What are some of the problems that you're hoping to fix? And do you think it's feasible to get it done by 2030?
So let me clarify, first of all, Jen, the piece I think that came out in the last couple of days that was talking about the permanent barracks strategy, that is what I would call an aspirational strategy.
Okay.
That was not a document that I signed out or that General George signed out. So the good news about it is, we do have a plan mapped out, if you will, for how we could improve our permanent barracks. But a big part of how we would improve our permanent barracks is by getting more money. And right now, $4 billion is more than, frankly, we can afford inside of our current top line. Now, General George and I are, building the FY25 budget request to go to Congress right now. We are looking at and working on trying to put more money from within our top line than we have to date. So, we've been doing $1 billion a year. We'd like to try to increase that a little bit. And then we are also hoping to ensure that our budget request provides for 100% of barrack sustainment, whereas in the past we've only been sustaining up to 85%. So that would be an improvement. To do some of the things that are outlined in that barrack strategy would require yet more funding on top of that. And I think, there's a lot of support on Capitol Hill on both sides of the aisle for improving our barracks. But, I think we're going to have to keep talking to Congress about, what they can accommodate given that they control the power of the purse.
Okay, and beyond barracks, what else are you doing to improve family housing on bases at this point?
Yeah, a couple of things. Well, we continue to work closely with our privatized housing partners. And so, for example, we have broken ground to build more housing at Fort Carson. We are working on completing the land sale at Fort Bliss to be able to help get money to Fort Leonard Wood. And another thing I'm very interested in, although it's early days, is we're looking at doing a pilot for a privatized barracks, actually, at Fort Irwin. That would be, I don't know if you've seen the Pacific Beacon facility that the Navy has out in San Diego, but it is fabulous. It has a rooftop pool. I mean, it's nice.
Wow.
So we're exploring whether we might be able to do something like that, starting with Fort Irwin.